Hello, all. Welcome to the session of Modern Management Theory under the topic Introduction. Modern Management Theory. Modern management theories started after 1950s. These theories focused on the development of each factor of workers in organization. So it refers to basically the use of systematic mathematical techniques and analyzing so and understanding the interrelationship of management and workers in all its aspects. So basically modern management theory, in addition to workers and organization, took the help of mathematical techniques to analyze and understand the relationship of management and workers. There are three theories under a modern management. The first is quantitative approach, the second is systems approach, and the third is contingency approach. Now, quantitative approach. It is also known as operations research. Quantitative approach is a scientific method which emphasizes the use of statistical models and systematic mathematical techniques to solving complex management problems. It helps the management in making decisions related to operations. So it can only suggest the alternatives based on statistical data. The important thing is it does not take the final decision. The final decision is in the hands of management, but it actually suggests you the various options a management can have. So it helps the management from improving their decision making by increasing the number of alternatives and giving faster decisions on any problems. Management can easily calculate the risk and benefit of various actions. So the major contributors to quantitative approach were John MacDonald, George R. Terry, and Andrew Szilagyi. There are four tenets in quantitative approach: the management science, the operations management, total quality management, and management information systems. Management science. Now, what is management science? It is the branch of management theory which focuses on the development of mathematical and statistical models as a simplified representation of a system, process, or relationships as models, formulas, and equations. Now, this approach aims at increasing decision effectiveness through the use of advanced mathematical models and statistical methods. And it focuses on solving technical problems, rather than the human behavioral problems. And the computer has been of great help to this approach because it has enabled analysis of problems that would otherwise be too complex. For example, queuing theory. So how to reduce the queue in an organization. So there are the mathematical formulas with which you can find out the ideal number of people you should employ to reduce the queuing time effectively. So basically, these techniques help managers make maximum use of organizational resources to produce goods and services. This field of management has grown significantly with the development of computer systems and computational abilities. Like if you've heard of the EOQ model, economic order quantity. So it takes care of how much inventory you need on an average, how you should be ordering. So there is a formula for it. This all is management science. Now we come to operations management. So operations management is a field of management which focuses on efficiency, effectiveness, and producing or organizational systems, process, functions that are used in the manufacturing of goods and services. It focuses on the operation and control of production process that transform resources into finished goods and services. And it also looks at the extent to which the functional process satisfy the needs. So basically, It is the function that is responsible for managing the production and delivery of an organization's product and services. It includes fields such as inventory management, like I was telling you, EOQ model, product planning, design, location, work scheduling, quality assurance. So, operations management is generally applied in the manufacturing settings in which various aspects of production needs to be managed, including designing the production process, purchasing raw material, scheduling employees to work, storing, shipping the final product. All these comes under that. So example is linear programming. So it assists in input output analysis. Queuing theory helps in inventory control. Sampling theory helps in product planning, manpower forecasting. And then information theory helps in system design, data processing. So there are so many other operations management. For example, Rubbermaid and the Home Depot, they each use operations management techniques to manage their inventories. Linear programming helps most airline companies also to plan their flight schedules. So operations management is a derivative of mathematical models in which specified measurement systems are applied to operational scenarios. These methods are used to achieve a higher level of efficiency in operational tasks. So we have already covered major areas of study within this. Includes a product or process design, capacity planning, material requirement planning, scheduling, purchasing, inventory control, quality control, computer integrated manufacturing, just in time inventory system, flexible manufacturing systems, types of operations management techniques including queuing, break even analysis, simulation, all comes under the operations management. Then comes total quality management. Now you must have heard of this term, and it is actually a management theory which was developed following World War II during the reconstruction of Japan. It is perhaps the best known proponent of this school of management, who was Edward Deming. Total quality management is an approach that focuses on different elements of operations. What are those? They are planning, doing, checking, and acting. What comes under the planning phase? Employees discover the problems in regular operations and their root causes. Employees conduct comprehensive research and collect relevant data. So, the objective of this planning phase is to identify potential solutions to their problems. First of all, they'll find these problems, and also they will work on the solutions that this is the problem we are facing in carrying out this particular job, and what according to us can be probable solutions. So you are not only highlighting the problem that is coming under your workshop, but also you are suggesting some possible solutions. The doing phase. The employees develop and execute strategies and plans to address and identify the problems. So already the problems are identified in the planning phase. Now in the doing phase, employees will develop and execute those strategies. So implementation phase is the doing phase. Then checking phase. So data when collected is to see or analyze the performance to validate the effectiveness of the process and measuring the outcome. So they first of all found out that there was a problem and they found out a possible solution. Then they implemented that solution, and now they will check that whether the problem is solved or not. And then acting phase. Outcomes are documented and employees begin addressing resulting challenges. So now they have moved on. They would see that okay, these are documented, this process should be done in this manner in which we have found out, changed, obviously it's a changed way. And then the resulting challenges. So now, are there any other challenges resulting out of this implementation? We will look into that. So this is known as the process of total quality management. Then the next one comes as management information systems. So MIS is the name given to the field of management that focuses on designing and implementing computer-based information systems for use by the management. So basically these systems, they turn raw data into the information that can be utilized at various levels of management. So it allows for more efficient creation, management and communication of information across the organization as well as in the outside world. The information allows for more efficient management decisions making by providing information in a more timely manner and in a more useful format. Notably, decision support system integrate decision models and data to this end. So there is all the data in the computer system. Now, for example, let's say the management wants to know how much production is happening and how much is our inventory and when we should refurnish this inventory. So the data has to be bundled up in certain information, and they will ask that they'll take the help of the computer systems to find out the more relevant data for their particular management decisions. So something related to the cost volume profit analysis, they would look into only the costs, how much is the volume and how much profit it is giving. So that is the distinctive or some filtered information they want from the raw data which the computer will give. Its benefits includes that it establishes relationship among quantifiable variables of decision making situations, and it facilitates disciplined thinking. So everything is mathematical in nature. They are going to give you the options and it is going to facilitate the disciplined thinking. Also, the mathematical models, they help to derive precise and accurate results. So precisely this you should do to get these many sales. Okay, so there is complex data out of which they will find out that precisely that these many number of products you should sell to get this much profit. Hence it is this precise and hence scientific. So it is useful in areas of planning and control where data is available in quantitative terms. So decisions are based on data and logic rather than intuition and judgment. So everything is laid on the paper. All the formulas are documented, and there is the most efficient way has been actually found out. Then computer-based statistical packages are available which facilitate analysis of qualitative data, that also as dummy variables are used to analyze the non-quantifiable data. So qualitative, they attempt to carry out their operations on the qualitative data, but also they can use the non-quantifiable data through dummy variables. That's also one of the statistical techniques. About the negative aspects of quantitative management theory, the negatives include these are the mathematical models and they cannot fully account for individual behaviors. Yes, absolutely, behaviors and attitudes are ignored in this theory. The time needed to develop competence in quantitative techniques may delay the development of other managerial skills. So a manager should be able to understand and interpret the results well, and these are the managerial skills. So they have to be learned, and it can vary from person to person how he inculcates these skills. These mathematical models typically require a set of assumptions that may not be realistic in an industrial setting. Yes, so there are certain assumptions which we take, that the inventory is coming in in regular periods, or it doesn't deviate, but in real terms there can be other factors because of which the inventory can get delayed and your EOQ model may not work that efficiently. Among different functions of management, its use is limited in organizing, staffing and directing. it applies more in planning and controlling functions. So that is what the quantitative management theory propounder said, that it applies more to planning and control, and hence organizing, staffing and directing does not have that much use of these theories, because behavioral approaches in that case, in staffing and in organizing, they are very much necessary. In directing, that what kind of leader are you, so we have discussed that in our organization behavior approach. So in these functions, those neoclassical approaches are preferred than the management approaches, quantitative management approaches. They work mostly for planning and control functions. Then it does not eliminate risk, but only attempts to reduce it. So it cannot completely eliminate that, okay, nothing will happen if you will work for this, you will get this much profit. But there are other circumstances which can come into action, leading to some risk, exposing yourself to some risk. But yes, in a standard manner, they attempt to reduce all the risk. The next is, it assumes that all the variables affecting the problem can be quantified in numerical terms. So all the quantified data they can analyze, but there is a limitation regarding the non-quantifiable data, which they can introduce by the dummy variables, but they also have their own limitations. Then decisions are often based on the availability of limited information. So the decisions are as good as the information you have provided. If your information has certain follies, then your decision also cannot be perfect. So it just depends on the data that your decision, how good your decision would be. So these are the negative aspects of quantitative management theory. We come to systems approach to management. Now, what is this systems approach? It was developed in late 1960s. Herbert A. Simon is known as the father of systems theory. What is a system? It is defined as set of regularly interacting or interdependent components that create as a whole unit. The system concepts enable us to see the critical variables and constraints and their interactions with one another. So systems approach basically considers there is a whole system, and then there are certain subsystems working as processes. What is a system? It is a set of interrelated parts or subsystems. Then each part may have various subparts. These parts are mutually related to each other. Usually a change in one part would lead to a change in the other part. Like body is a system, right? So there are certain subsystems in it: digestive system, respiratory system, and then there is nervous system. So all these have different, and they also have further subsystems within them. But a body works as a whole. Hence, in the same way, organization is also a system, and it has got certain subsystems, those subsystems and further subsystems, but they all work together as a unified whole. And in order to get efficient, it has to see this entire organization as a system. So what is a subsystem? It is that part that makes us the whole of a system, and each system serves the larger subsystem or the system. So let's say a department may be a subsystem of a plant, which may be a subsystem of a company, which may be a subsystem of an industry. So there are 5 subsystems within an organization. Like, goal subsystem, individual and group goals; technical subsystem, like tools, equipments, employee skills; then structural subsystem, like authority layers and relationships; then managerial subsystems, whereas managers who plan and lead and control; then there is psychological subsystem, which works on the psychological and social factors, the things that influence the people at work. So this is a subsystem. And all these subsystems, mind you, all these subsystems would lead into synergy. What is synergy? It means that whole is greater than the sum of its parts. I'm repeating. Synergy means that whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So, for example, let us say a watch. When it is disintegrated, it has the same number of parts as as one properly assembled. However, assembled watch has a phenomena that disassembled watch lacks. What is that? The assembled watch keeps time, whereas disassembled watch, all the products are just, all the organs are just the same, but because it is disassembled, it cannot show us the time, whereas an assembled system shows us the time. Hence, all those parts, when they came together, they made a whole, and a functioning whole. Importance is of the functioning whole. So you keep in a platter, let us say for you're making a lasagna, you have put lasagna sheets, you have put sauce in a plate, and cheese, and say that this is lasagna. No, that is not lasagna. Lasagna is when you properly in orderly fashion you arrange it, and then you bake it to get the lasagna, and then it will fulfill. So the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, is what is synergy. So systems approach basically says that we have systems, we have subsystems, and these leads to synergy of the action. Now, according to Cleland and King, a system is composed of related and dependent elements which, when in interaction, form a unity whole. So systems and subsystems, they come together and form the whole. Characteristics of systems approach. A system must have some specific components, units or subunits, which we have discussed. A change in one system affects the other subsystem. So they are interrelated. Every system is influenced by a super system. So it gets influenced by the system over it. All systems along their subsystem must have common objectives. Now, the entire system should have common objectives. So one subsystem, if it acts functioning in not desirable objectives, then the overall system may not work. All the systems would get affected and we'll not get the achieved goals. A system is a goal-oriented system. So there's always a goal which you have to. So in our watch example, our goal was to make a machine which can give us the right time. So that was the goal. All the other parts, they were assembled in it for that objective. A system cannot survive in isolation. So a system is actually all the systems are part of some bigger system or super system. So this entire universe is made out of a system, and every system cannot be independent completely. They will take from some other system or subsystem to subsist. Major contribution in system theories comes from Daniel Katz, Robert Kahn, and Richard Johnson. Now, the evaluation of systems approach. The systems approach assists in studying the functions of complex organizations and has been utilized as the base for the new kind of organizations like project management organizations. So wherever there is project management, then you need to see the entire system where which input will become the output for from your system, and then because your output will become input for some other system, so you have to link the chain. It is possible to bring out the interrelations in various functions like planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. This approach has an edge over the other approaches because it is very close to reality. This approach is called abstract and vague. It cannot be easily applied to large and complex organizations. Moreover, it does not provide any tools or techniques for management. So systems approach, basically, it is there to study the complex functions of the organizations, and it tells that they work for the ultimate goal of the organization. But it becomes abstract and vague when it is applied to large and complex organizations, because there are so many systems and subsystems. So it becomes really difficult to find out what is going in, where it is coming, and hence the decision making process becomes a bit difficult. Now we come to contingency approach to management. Contingency approach, also known as situational approach. So whenever there is a system that you have various theories with you, and from those theories you will see what the situation is and you will apply that theory. In 1980s, it is recognized as a key to effective management. This approach accepts the dynamic and complexities of the organizational structure. An organization is affected by its environment, and environment is composed by physical resources, climates, person, culture, economic and market conditions, and their laws. So there are so many complexities in an organization. Every organization is a unique organization. It has got its environment inside, as well as in the environment it is working, it is operating, and it is composed of various physical resources, so they might be different, the climate may be different, people who are working with the cultures and attitudes and attributes they come, then economic and market conditions, what kind of conditions are prevailing at that time, and the legal aspects of it, they all make management decision a complex process. So making in advance a theory that would fit for all is very difficult, and hence there are a set of management techniques suggested by the management expertise for our usage, that as the rational management decision, you would see your situation and fit the relevant theory into it. This approach argues that there is no one universally applicable set of rules by which to manage organizations. So, the main characteristics of the contingency approach to management is entirely situational. The application and effectiveness of any technique is contingent on the situation. So it will depend upon the situation, what kind of technique do you use. Management should match its approach to the requirements of the particular situation. To be effective, management policies and practices must respond to environmental changes. As the environment will change, your practices, your decisions should change. The organization structure, leadership style, control system, all should be designed to fit the particular situation. Now, as management success depends on its ability to cope up with the environment. How quickly do you cope up with the environment? It should sharpen its diagnostic skills so as to anticipate and comprehend environmental changes. The fail to change with the environment can threaten your existence. For example, Uber. Now, what did they do in Corona times? They saw that the people were not commuting. So, what they needed groceries at home. Hence, the Uber management came up with a decision that we would be delivering groceries to the doorstep. This was different kind of culture they were trying to inculcate now in the people, specifically in United States, where people get groceries by themselves from the giant stores, Walmart, Giant, and there are many, Target. So all these are big stores from where they used to get their groceries by themselves. Now this was a new concept which Uber had to introduce because people were restricted to their homes. The next is the managers should understand that there is no one best way to manage. So Uber may have come up with the introducing groceries. They could deliver medicines. There could have been many opportunities they could have tapped. Now management, whatever thought that they could go well with it, they took that decision. Because of the specific organization environment relationship, no action can be universal. It varies from situation to situation. So they actually questioned the applicability of all the previous approaches. They said that no approach is universally applicable, and hence we should look for what is the situation and what we should be choosing according to our environment and changed situations. The major contributors in the contingency theory are Stoker, Woodward, Burns, Lawrence, and Lorsch. So, the relationship between systems and contingency approach. What does the systems theory says? The systems theory, they say that organization environment relationship is at a subtle level. It is not prominent, whereas contingency theory, it spells out the relationship of organization to its environment very clearly. In systems theory, they take a general view of organizational variables like technical, social, personal. But in contingency theory, it takes a specific view of how the organization adjusts to its environmental demands. The systems theory says that the organizations are pretty similar. All our systems, all have subsystems, whereas contingency says that each organization is very, very unique. So the emphasis in systems approach is on the synergistic effect and recognizes that you have the external inputs, whereas the contingency approach, it relates to the environment, to specific organization structure and design, and it is sort of an integrative theory which actually can be practiced with systems approach, can be practiced with neoclassical and classical approaches also, depending upon the situation. So if we see the relationship between them, the contingency approach has emerged out of the systems approach. How? The contingency theorists have accepted the basic tenets of systems approach. They say that yes, organization is a system and it has got various subsystems, and there is a but. At the same time, this system is part of the environment system, and hence it becomes dynamic because the environment keeps changing. So what they are doing, they are deriving from the systems approach and they are adding to it, that not only that they are systems, subsystems, bigger systems, all these are interconnected, and change in one would lead to another. So change in the environment would lead to the management decisions. However, they feel that systems approach is too abstract. So it is abstractly saying that these are systems and subsystems. Contingency people, they are saying that it is very precise. So this can be overcome by modifying systems framework and translating it into operational framework. Therefore, both approaches are related, but they have the distinct So a comparison between the two. Model of human being. The range of activities of human being is different under two approach. Systems approach usually employs a richer model of human beings than contingency. The systems approach takes into account the full range of human behavior in the organization, while contingency approach is interested in structural adaptations or organization to take its environment seriously. Therefore, contingency theorists talk mostly in terms of structural changes in the organization in response to change in the environment. As the environment will change, the organization will have to change its structure to adapt to the changes. Then organizational variables. System approach is very broad in considering the organizational variables. It tries to cover personal, social, technical, structural, and environmental variables. Therefore, managing involves establishing relationship among these variables and considering them in taking any action. Whereas contingency approach, it concentrates on structural adaptation of organization. So it is related to structure and it is related to the different variables. This approach tends to predict the ultimate outcome of disturbance of the organizational equilibrium by a change in the task environment. So, for example, you will see that in the COVID times, people have started working from home, and hence the importance of the offices, the physical spaces, has reduced. And in fact, there have been theories which are telling that, rather than having the physical spaces, you give this leverage to the employees to work from home and increase their salary, so they'll have enough motivation to work there also. And the third difference between systems and contingency approaches, that the major contributors in systems approach have been social, that is psychologists, while sociologists have contributed to contingency approach. The contingency approach has been built up over systems approach. Therefore, it is possible that both approaches may merge or profoundly influence each other. So, because the contingency approach has come or evolved from systems approach is taking one view only, whereas contingency approach adds the changing environment paradigm into it. Thank you so much.